Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Good morning, I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Amy Morris. Here are the stories we're following today.
That surge in futures, particularly the 2% gain for the Nasdaq futures, follows another blowout quarter from Nvidia. The AI darling is up more than 12% in early trading. In fact, it's up more than 14% now. The world's most valuable chipmaker says revenue in the current period will come in at a better than expected $24 billion. On the conference call, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang says the future looks bright.
We guide one quarter at a time, but fundamentally the conditions are excellent for continued growth, calendar 24 to calendar 25 and beyond. And let me tell you why. We're at the beginning of two industry-wide transitions.
NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang says demand for NVIDIA's newest products will continue to outstrip supply for the rest of the year.
And Nathan, other tech stocks are riding the Nvidia train this morning. In early trading, shares of Supermicro are surging about 15%. Advanced Micro Devices, Planeteer, and Marvell Technologies all up 6%. Applied Materials up almost 4%. Intel up about 2%.
And Amy, we're seeing the Nvidia effect impact stocks in Europe as well. Let's get the latest on that now from Bloomberg's Ewan Potts. Good morning, Ewan.
Good morning, Nathan and Amy. The artificial intelligence party rolls on into Europe. The Stoxx 600 hitting a record high this morning with optimism around economic growth feeding the rally. But it is the tech story turbocharging gains today, with the sector rising after Nvidia's blowout sales forecast. Shares in BE Semiconductor jumping after it reported high revenue on AI chip demand. Also at the party today, chip machine giant ASML of the Netherlands. Its shares adding to year-to-date gains already in excess of 25%. In Dubai, I'm Ewan Potts, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, thanks, Ewan. We were also seeing stocks surge in Asia. In fact, a milestone for Japanese stocks. The Nikkei 225 index rallied more than 2% to close above a peak last achieved in 1989. Technology shares and chip gear producers led the gains.
Now, this hype around NVIDIA's earnings, Amy, is overshadowing a hawkish tone from the minutes of the Federal Reserve's last policy meeting. Most officials remained more worried about the risk of cutting interest rates too soon than keeping them high for too long. We caught up with former Fed Vice Chairman and current PIMCO Global Economic Advisor Richard Clarida.
Most of the members noted the risk of moving too quickly to cut rates. There was also a reference to some of the progress on disinflation may have been due to idiosyncratic factors. So that skewed a little bit in a bit of a hawkish direction. Of course, since that meeting, we in the Fed have gotten the CPI inflation data, which came in very hot.
Former Fed Vice Chair Richard Clarida says Fed officials agree interest rates are likely at their peak, but the exact timing of the first rate cut remains unclear.
On the political front, President Biden is weighing a unilateral attempt to tighten migrant rules. Bloomberg's Ed Baxter has those details.
The administration is considering executive action, including curbing asylum claims by migrants crossing the southern border. This while the president's continuing to call on Congress to get border and aid packages passed. Any unilateral action would include the so-called 212F, which is very controversial and actually was used by Donald Trump. Republicans have continually asked him to act in this manner, and with immigration becoming the number one issue now headed into the election, this could be something he feels has to be done. It would face court challenges. Ed Baxter, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Ed, thanks. Right now, President Biden's on a campaign fundraising swing through the West Coast, and he's sharpening his rhetoric against Russia and the Republicans. At an event in San Francisco, the president called Vladimir Putin a, quote, crazy SOB, and he laid into GOP frontrunner Donald Trump for comparing his legal battles to the death of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. The president says if he said the things Trump does 10 or 15 years ago, quote, you'd all think I should be committed.
And turning to Wall Street, a management surprise this morning at Goldman Sachs. We get those details from Bloomberg's John Tucker. John.
And Amy, after 30 years at Goldman, Beth Hammack is calling it quits. The 52-year-old was seen as a top choice to become the next chief financial officer. That would have been a rare elevation for a woman. The lack of women at Goldman's highest levels has been a sore point. No woman has ever been appointed to the role of chair, chief executive officer, president, or CFO in the company's history. She moved into her latest role running the financing unit after being passed over for CFO back in 2021. Goldman and Hammack declined to comment. I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, John. Now, Goldman Sachs isn't the only company seeing a management shakeup. Boeing has removed the head of its 737 MAX unit more than a month after the door panel blowout on an Alaska Airlines model. Boeing says Ed Clark is stepping down effective immediately after nearly 18 years of service. Katie Ringgold is succeeding him as vice president of the 737 program.
And in other company news, shares of Rivian Automotive down 14% in early trading. The EV maker has revealed plans to cut 10% of its salaried workforce, and its production guidance is coming in well below Wall Street's expectations. Let's get those details now from Bloomberg's Charlie Pellet.
It comes as the maker of electric vehicles grapples with stagnant demand and economic turbulence. The company said it would build 57,000 vehicles this year, roughly in line with its 2023 output. The forecast fell far short of analysts' average estimate of more than 80,000 units in 2024. The outlook, as it detailed fourth quarter results, underscores the challenge of scaling production and stemming losses in an environment of waning consumer demand for battery-powered vehicles. In New York, Charlie Pellet, Bloomberg Radio.
Okay, Charlie, thanks. Now, on the flip side, Mercedes is up about 5%. The German automaker announced a $3.2 billion share buyback program amid better than expected cash flow. And now it's time to take a look at some of the other stories making news in New York and around the world with Bloomberg's Michael Barr. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Nathan. A district attorney in Arizona and Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg are at odds. It stems from a man in custody suspected of stabbings in Arizona and a murder at a Soho hotel in New York City. 26-year-old Rad Al-Mansouri is being held in Maricopa County, where District Attorney Rachel Mitchell says she will not willingly give him to the NYPD because the crimes in Arizona could be mandatory prison time.
We will not be agreeing to extradition. I've instructed my extradition attorneys not to agree to that. We're going to keep him here. These are mandatory prison sentences.
Then Mitchell took a swipe at Bragg, saying she has concerns that Al-Mansouri could be released on bail if he is extradited to Manhattan, having observed the treatment of violent criminals in the New York area. Bragg's office fired back. A spokesperson for the Manhattan District Attorney said it is deeply disturbing that DA Mitchell is playing political games in a murder investigation. Attorneys for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange were in a British court fighting his extradition to face espionage charges in the United States. Speaking during a protest following Assange's latest court hearing in London, Stella Assange compared her husband to Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, who died last Friday in an Arctic penal colony.
Julian's life is at severe risk every single day he is in prison. He is a political prisoner. He is the world's most famous political prisoner.
Lawyers for the U.S. government argued Assange put innocent lives at risk and went beyond journalism in his bid to solicit, steal, and indiscriminately publish classified U.S. government documents. A court decision is not expected until at least next month. Justice. That's what the New York City Police Union officials are saying about a 34-year-old woman being sentenced to the maximum 27 years in prison in the hit-and-run death of an NYPD officer on the Long Island Expressway. Prosecutors say Jessica Bouvet admitted drinking and smoking pot during the tragedy in April of 2021. At her sentencing, police officers packed the courtroom. The widow of Detective Anastasios Sakos, Irene, gave an emotional statement detailing the difficult days after her husband's death.
While Jessica Bouvet was sobering up in a police station that morning, our world was collapsing.
During her sentencing, Bouvet said, "I am sorry that I hit him and that he is dead." New York City Mayor Eric Adams said he'll no longer carry out a planned round of budget cuts that would have affected libraries, trash pickup, and services to older adults. Adams says better than expected tax revenue from the city's economic recovery will halt plans to trim those services. Global news 24 hours a day and whenever you want it. With Bloomberg News Now, I'm Michael Barr, and this is Bloomberg. Nathan?
Okay, Michael, thanks. Time now for the Bloomberg Sports Update, brought to you by Tri-State Audi. Here's John Stashower.
Thanks, Nathan. When we last saw the Knicks, they were decimated by injury and lost 4 games in a row. Back from the All-Star break tonight in Philadelphia, with the Knicks hoping to have some of those injured players like Isaiah Hartenstein, Dante DiVincenzo, and Bojan Bogdanovic healthy enough to play. It's going to be a while for Julius Randle, and he did admit it's possible he'll need season-ending surgery on his injured shoulder. Big game tonight because if the season ended now, the Knicks would play Philly in the first round of the playoffs, and the two teams separated by only a half game. Sixers are without their star, Joel Embiid, and they've lost 9 of their last 12. Nets play tonight in Toronto. The new Nets coach is Kevin Ollie. Played 13 NBA seasons for 11 different teams. He coached UConn to the NCAA championship a decade ago, but was fired 4 years later. He then filed and settled a lawsuit with the school.
And I just thank God for all the opportunities I've been through UConn and the ups and downs with that. I've always learned, and I'm going to take those experiences from that as lessons and not losses. And the wins, I'm going to continue to, praise them and have them.
Also tonight, Lakers and Warriors. No LeBron James has a sore ankle. Rangers tonight bring their 8-game winning streak to New Jersey. Bruins beat Edmonton 6-5 in overtime. Toronto beat Arizona as Austin Matthews scored twice. He's reached 50 goals in 54 games. That's the fewest since Mario Lemieux 28 years ago. Much-needed win for struggling St. John's. Red Storm blew much of a 22-point lead, but held on and won at lowly Georgetown 90-85. LSU scored at the buzzer to upset Kentucky. Penn State, a 1-point upset win over 12th-ranked Illinois. Tiger Woods' 15-year-old son Charlie playing golf today in Florida. He's hoping to qualify for the upcoming PGA tourney near his home. If he makes it into the field, he'll play at a younger age than when Tiger made his PGA debut when he was 16. John Stashower, Bloomberg Sports. Nathan?
All right, John, thank you. And we go now to the top story of the morning. That would be Nvidia delivering another quarter, forecasting a massive sales gain for its industry-leading artificial intelligence chips. It's adding to a streak that has made the AI chip powerhouse one of the most valuable companies in the world, certainly the most valuable chip maker. For some analysis, we are joined now by one of Wall Street's loudest tech bulls, Dan Ives, Senior Equity Research Analyst at Wedbush Securities. Dan, thanks for being with us on an early morning. I want to start right with your note, calling this a game-changing moment for tech bulls and the AI revolution. What has you saying that about NVIDIA's latest earnings?
Look, this is a Taylor Swift moment. I mean, for the tech bull market, AI revolution starts with NVIDIA. And this was a game-changing quarter. It shows that this is not peaking. It's accelerating. This is jet fuel into the broader tech rally for Microsoft, for chip names, for what I view as probably the most important earnings we've seen in 5 years.
It's not peaking, but it's accelerating. I mean, it has been accelerating. Can NVIDIA maintain this kind of acceleration?
Look, at one point, law of numbers kicks in. But the reason this quarter was so important, it shows what the enterprise demand looks like on the other side of this. And the important thing is that now this tidal wave of spend, it's coming to the rest of tech. So we're going to continue right now to see a market that, in our opinion, that goes higher significantly because this shows the foundation of AI. This is not hype. It's real. The AI revolution's on the doorstep.
So you're saying that NVIDIA is the rising tide that's going to lift all boats. Does NVIDIA as an individual company have to worry about some of those boats coming after it?
Look, the godfather of AI, Jensen NVIDIA, and that's, when they talk, everyone listens because they're the only game in town for the next few years. Now, at one point, they'll have competition. But right now, when it comes to GPUs fueling AI, it is NVIDIA, it's Jensen, and that's why everyone, regardless of where you are in the world, was listening to this call. I mean, you could say, save the market. In my opinion, I think there's a different narrative. It puts more jet fuel in this tech bull market in the most important earnings we've seen in many, many years.
Now, a lot of bears are going to fire back and talk about NVIDIA's valuation, that it's still trading at huge multiples on forward earnings. Do you see the outlook for NVIDIA justifying those kind of numbers?
Look, the transformational elite tech names, they grow into valuations. And I think those bears that have missed from Meta to Apple to Tesla to Amazon to every other transformational tech name, by sticking with the 1-year PE valuation, I continue to think that's the wrong move, and that's why they're deep in hibernation mode this morning.
But there have got to be some headwinds for Nvidia. I'm thinking about, the restrictions from China, chief among them. What could that mean for long-term growth if you've got the weight of China restrictions on a company like Nvidia?
Yeah, Nate, I'd say the biggest risk is China. It's not valuation, it's not demand. I think those boxes are all checked. The China story, look, that was actually a headwind in the quarter relative to even these numbers. The restrictions, that's a tightrope that now needs to be navigated. But I do believe there's a way that NVIDIA's figured out from a chip perspective to kind of navigate this tug of war. Give chips to China while continuing to stay with some of the U.S. restrictions.
This is Bloomberg Daybreak Today, your morning brief on the stories making news from Wall Street to Washington and beyond.
Look for us on your podcast feed by 6 a.m. Eastern each morning on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
You can also listen live each morning starting at 5 a.m. Wall Street time on Bloomberg 1130 in New York, Bloomberg 99.1 in Washington, Bloomberg 106.1 in Boston, and Bloomberg 960 in San Francisco.
Our flagship New York station is also available on your Amazon Alexa devices. Just say, Alexa, play Bloomberg 1130.
Plus, listen coast to coast on the Bloomberg Business app, SiriusXM, the iHeartRadio app, and on Bloomberg.com. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Amy Morris. Join us again tomorrow morning for all the news you need to start your day right here on Bloomberg Daybreak.